Hey, what's up? Lenovo IdeaPad Gaming 3 has always been a very popular series of laptops. Primarily due to the fact that these are the most affordable gaming models of the manufacturer and yet not much inferior to the more expensive Legions. This year, the company carried out a massive rebranding to bring its gaming brands closer together. This is how the LOQ lineup came to be. Notice the visual similarity in the logos of both game series, LOQ and Legion. And now let's take a closer look at the new product itself. What has changed in it besides the logo? The case design was radically changed back in the 2022 model. The one with the old name. It turned out to be recognizable and distinctive. It is clear that in a year it is too early to change something. Yes, there's a new logo on the top cover. Everything else is the same. This is a completely plastic case. The plastic, as well as the overall assembly, is of high quality. The blue accents in the grills of the cooling system have been preserved, as well as the large stern, which stands out in color and texture. Well, and it's still a fairly large laptop by all accounts. The ports are in their proper places. That is, not only on the sides, but also on the back. But the set itself has changed a bit. To summarize, the USB connectors have been swapped. I'll list them in order. On the left side, there is a combined audio jack and USB-C 3.2 Gen 2. It supports power delivery, charging at 140 watts and video output via DisplayPort 1.4. On the right side is USB-A version 3.2 and a physical webcam switch. The rest of the back. Here we have two full-size USB-A version 3.2, Gigabit Ethernet, HDMI 2.1, and Lenovo's proprietary power connector. A little surprised by the lack of Thunderbolt or USB 4. There are variants with IPS screen with a diagonal of 15 and 16 inches, as in the last model. I got on the test a 16-inch version with proportions of 16 by 10. By the way, the same panel can be found in Legion Slim 5. The resolution is 2560 by 1600, which for me is clearly noticeable by the sharper fonts compared to Full HD screens. Brightness is just average, 350 nits. Beyond that, it's all pluses. Refresh rate of 165 Hz, 100% coverage of sRGB, and such a rare thing in affordable laptops as support for NVIDIA G-Sync to eliminate frame tearing in games. In order to save battery power, the screen frequency can be quickly changed to 60 Hz with a combination of function plus R keys. By the way, the screen can be opened to a rather large angle. Not 180 degrees, but not bad either. On top of the screen is a webcam capable of shooting Full HD video, and two microphones on the sides. The picture quality seemed really good to me. The keyboard hasn't changed at all. Full size, with a separate number pad and large cursor keys. Quiet, with a short stroke and a clear click. It's comfortable to play as well as to type large texts. In my sample, the backlight is single color white with 2 levels of brightness. Above the keyboard there is a round power button. Similar to Legion's, it changes color depending on the laptop's operating mode. The touchpad here is plastic, of medium size. The laptop speakers are located at the corners at the bottom. The volume is good, but the sound quality is just average. Now the hardware. Of course, the next year brought another change of processor and video card generations. I got a configuration with Intel Core i7-13620H. It consists of 6 productive and 4 economical cores. Together 16 threads. It also comes with 16 GB of DDR5 5200 RAM and a 512 GB M2 format SSD from Micron. In terms of speeds, the SSD is just average. The graphics card here is a discrete NVIDIA RTX 4060 with 8 GB of video memory. And the Intel AX203 module is responsible for the wireless interfaces. It provides Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.1. The laptop is upgraded traditionally for gaming models. RAM is realized by 2 slots, so you can replace 16 GB with 32. Also, on board are 2 M2 slots for SSD drives, one of which is already occupied by the System 1. The slots are of different sizes, 2280 and 2242, but both are PCIe 4. The main thing is to be careful when disassembling. There are nuances there with the stern. It is better to watch examples on YouTube beforehand. There are some important hardware settings in the proprietary Lenovo Vantage app. Therefore, I will mention them here. First, it is the choice of thermal mode, the classic trinity: quiet, balanced and performance. And here, similar to the fresh Legions, a new individual mode with manual settings has been added. I advise you to get into it only if you understand what you are doing. Secondly, the possibility of a small overclocking of discrete graphics. Thirdly, video card modes. In fact, the options of using integrated and discrete graphics cards. And here at last there is a purely discrete mode due to the presence of a MUX switch. Now let's test it all. First, synthetic CPU tests. So, Geekbench 6, Cinebench in single-core and multi-core tests, Corona benchmark old and new. Finally, all the results of PC Mark 10. It's the turn of the video card. The RTX 4060 in the Lenovo LOQ series is a bit undercut in terms of power, probably not to compete with the Legions. TGP here is 115 watts. What is interesting, in synthetic tests it does not show up in any way. The results are similar to laptops, where the 4060 can run at full 140 watts. And so, the results of 3D Mark tests, 1 by 1. Time Spy, Port Royal, Speedway. Finally Real Games. Tested in performance mode, discrete graphics only, native resolution. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. DLSS balance, graphics preset highest. Average 132 frames per second. Horizon Zero Dawn. DLSS balance, graphics preset ultimate quality. Average 114 frames per second. Finally, Cyberpunk 2077. Version is the latest 2.01. Native resolution, preset ultra with ray tracing, DLSS auto. Average 40 frames per second. On the verge of playability. Add frame generation. The result is 60 frames per second. And how not to check the heaviest and most beautiful overdrive mode with ray tracing. Without frame generation we get 25 frames per second. And even with enabled frame generation only 42 frames per second. Just in case I ran the game lowering the resolution to Full HD, in this case 1920 by 1200, and got already 58 frames per second. Well, we can make an intermediate conclusion specifically on gaming performance. The laptop in this configuration quietly runs most games at maximum settings and in native resolution. Nuances appear only in the most graphically heavy projects. RTX 4060 even with all DLSS cannot cope in native resolution. You will have to either change the game settings or downgrade the resolution to Full HD. It's good that such games are a rare exception so far. A few words about temperatures and power for those who are particularly curious. In games, the processor warmed up to a maximum of 86 degrees Celsius, the video card to 72 degrees Celsius. The video card at the same time accelerated to a maximum of 105 watts. Separately I measured these parameters in stress tests. The processor showed a maximum of 93 degrees and 70 watts. The video card 72 degrees and 115 watts promised by specifications. After walking around Dogtown for extended periods of time, I can say that this is one of the coolest gaming laptops I've had. The average temperature of the Cyberpunk CPU and GPU were in the range of 70 to 72 degrees. About battery life, just briefly. Lenovo LOQ 16 has two battery options, a 60 watt-hour and an 80 watt-hour. I got the less capacious variant. So, in quiet mode, with half the brightness and 60 Hz the screen of this laptop was enough for about 2 hours and 40 minutes with a mixed office load. In general, it is better not to go far from the socket. In the kit comes this medium-sized power supply for 170 watts. In Lenovo Vantage you can activate fast charging or save battery life by charging only up to 60%. Pricing and conclusions. Lenovo LOQ 16 in my configuration costs $1,200. For this money we get a good screen, it would still have a reserve of brightness and would be excellent, powerful and yet moderately cold. As for a gaming laptop, hardware, good build quality and a convenient keyboard. At the same time, the rebranding did not go to the laptop, neither to the plus nor to the minus. Well, maybe it became easier to pronounce the name of the model, and the logo became neater. The main thing is that they updated the hardware to the current one, transferred manual settings from the software for Legions, added G-Sync and MUX switch. And I'll repeat about the moment related to performance in games. On the one hand, the performance is enough for most games. Only in the most graphically complex ones like Cyberpunk, the RTX 4060 video card can barely cope with the QHD screen, without a reserve for the future. So, either lower the resolution to Full HD, or choose not the most ultra settings. Gaming at high resolutions is more likely to be the territory of 4070 or 4080. That's been it. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.